Hi, welcome back to SFA Volley Blog. This is Margaret Dean, and we're here for our second senior interview. We are here with McKenzie Brewer today. She's our senior setter, and I'm going to hand it over to Greg, and y'all will get right to it. Greg?
I swear Margot is going to be doing this all year long. She's dancing about it. The girl lacks no confidence on the camera at all. Like she said, second of four senior. In fact, Peyton and Haycole are going to be interviewed next Tuesday together. They kind of wimped out. You don't just get one person at a time. But McKenzie Brewer, so Mac and Mac this week. So I love interviewing setters. Okay, so I got a lot of good stuff I want to ask you in this. Okay, because I love talking to setters. Okay, up on the SFA Jacks page right now, they're doing a position-by-position preview. And the setters was earlier this week. And in that video, head coach Debbie Humphreys ran down sort of the strengths that each of y'all have. And when she got to you, she said you were a pure setter. What do you think that means?
I just think that means that while I'm setting, I am just able to analyze the whole court as a setter. And while I'm playing to our strengths, and I'm focusing mostly on setting and just analyzing the court and seeing our strengths and seeing our weaknesses from a setting aspect.
One of the things I went back and looked that you really helped the club with last year was serving. There were several instances last year where you went on kind of a mini ace roll. Has your serve changed any during the time you've been at SFA, or is it pretty much the same serve that you had when you came into the club?
Well, coming in, I was standing serving, and that's what I did all throughout high school, all throughout club. And then when I came in, Coach Humphreys was really like, I want to see you try and jump serve, because that's kind of the next level. That's kind of a step up, and she's always pushing us to get a little bit better in every aspect of the game. So she wanted to see me jump serve, and that changed. And with assistant coaching, that helps a lot, and they just want you to have a strong, consistent serve. So I feel like I have improved a lot in that area.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody's noticed that it has during the time you've been here. Okay, two technical questions now about specific to setting. One of the things that this offense has tried to do effective last year is run faster. And so one thing I've always wanted to ask a setter about is it what's different mechanically about, say, shoot set? Let's talk about setting to the outside. So say you're going to run a shoot set to the outside versus sort of a traditional higher four ball. What mechanically is different? Is one of those sets harder than another physically on a setter?
It kind of just depends on where you are on the court. If you're pushed back, it's harder to push it all the way out as opposed to just being really close or it being a perfect pass. Technically, it's just all about your wrist speed and just touching the ball really quickly and not holding on to it, because the hitters have a specific mark they have to hit, and it's all about timing and just kind of where you are in the court.
One thing that sometimes you'll hear setters critiqued about is strength. You look sort of obviously at sort of other front row players like blockers and attackers, and strength plays a big role, but I don't think people realize that strength plays a pretty big role with the setter. Occasionally you do see a setter who really struggles to set the ball all the way across the net. Kind of talk about what you have to do as a setter to remain strong for an entire season.
Well, during the season we still continue to lift weights, so that of course helps. But before practice every day, we usually go work with Adler, and we set against the wall for a minute and a half to just get our shoulder strength up, and we set with a weighted ball, so that really helps us just to be consistent, and so we have endurance throughout the match. So,
is there any specific exercise or muscle training that a setter would do differently than somebody else on the floor?
Probably just we do a lot of footwork stuff. We do setting with a weighted ball, and normally hitters wouldn't do that, or just setting against the wall and just stuff like that.
This offense last year was not always in one set. It would go from one setter offense to at times a pure two setter offense. At times you were in there while Ann was still in there, running her on the right. What do you have to do different mentally to know from night to night, even set to set? You might change kind of what the offensive dynamic is.
Well, no matter what, whether it's practice or game day, I go in with just a strong mental attitude. Just like, especially on game day, you're either gonna get the call or you're not, and it's just depending on what the team needs. Sometimes the team doesn't need me; it needs a different look, or maybe I'm struggling, but someone else can fill that spot for me. So I just go in and just try to have confidence, and I know no matter who's out there, they're gonna get the job done. And I trust the coaching, and so it's all about just coming in, being confident, and I always have the mentality that like I'm gonna play. So I always come in just ready to work. And
if you're in a setup where Anne's on the floor and say you and Margaret are out of the match, how much do you and Margaret talk about the dynamic of what's going on during a match? Is there a lot of conversation about what you two see in the offense while you're not in the game, or is it mainly at that point just supporting the cast that's out there on the floor?
Well, we talked about this today actually. It's if you're on the bench, you're still in the game. No matter if you're on the court or you're off the court, you're in the game. So if Anne's playing and Margaret and I aren't playing at the time, then we're off the court watching stuff for her. Like, hey, you have this dump open, or hey, when this middle's up, it's better to set the weak side, or just something like that. Just anything to help our team get the win. It doesn't matter who's out there.
So you'd say then that there's a fair amount when, because sometimes you'll see coaches pull setters aside during timeouts. Is that something you feel like the three of you are real comfortable doing for each other no matter who's on the floor? Is, hey, if you see something that's open at that timeout between a set or something, y'all all pretty vocal with each other in terms of what you're learning?
Mm-hmm. It can just be as simple as, letting them know what their weakest hitter is on the other side, or just, hey, you can rotate this way on defense. But we all want success for each other, so it's whatever we see, we're going to help them out.
We brought in a player this year from South Lake Carroll where you play, Sabrina. And I kind of did the math there. Did you know she was a freshman, you were a senior, right?
Yes, she was a freshman when I was a senior.
And so now.
Yeah, she played on the freshman team. So.
Yeah, so South Lake Carroll, I mean, there's very few big high schools in Texas that can boast that they are truly an athletic dominant high school. And Carroll High School can. I mean, you just look across the board in all the sports, and they always – do you still keep up with what goes on there? Is that a big source of pride for you that you played at a premier program, premier athletic school in Texas?
I still follow them. I still follow Ladyjack and volleyball on Instagram just to see what they're doing and see how their season's going. I am really proud of coming from a big school such as that, and it was honestly a privilege because some people – went to smaller schools and they weren't able to see the talent level and get that type of experience from in high school, and I was just blessed enough to be able to go to a big school where the competition was high, and I was able to set big hitters that are at bigger schools like Madison Dreschers at OU. So
yeah, I've thought about that a couple times, that advantage of being able to play with top competition. In the manual that you guys got, it's got in that manual, there's assignments for each of you. And one of the assignments that you and Ann have is to keep the locker room clean. So I want to know the story. Is this because you naturally are good at keeping stuff clean, or is this because you and Ann are the ones that need the job because y'all are the ones always dirtying up the locker room? Like, how is that working?
We're not the ones that keep the locker room dirty, but I think it's just a good role for me and Ann. That's just kind of letting the teammate. I think we're the ones that aren't going to be very stern about it. We'll just say hey, maybe you should clean this up, or shouldn't leave that out, something like that. Just something.
All right. So okay. So now we get to who's going to be your toughest to keep in line. I mean, if you're the one who's got to clean up the locker room, who do you project is going to be the one that you're going to have to tell? Help me out a little here.
Oh, I don't know. They're all really clean. None of them really are keep anything dirty. They're all clean girls.
So you're telling me we do not have a team slop?
No.
We do not have a team slop. Okay, all right. If we did, then I was going to want to know who that was because I was going to work that in. One of the things that even back when you're a sophomore that the gals would tell me is, you you're somebody who can keep it light. You're the team comedian. You're hilarious. You're the one that's always cracking jokes. You're the one that's always interjecting things to kind of keep the moment light while still being serious when it needs to. Has that kind of always been your personality, to kind of be the one to kind of get in there and kind of mix it up and be funny?
I mean, I don't like to say, like, oh, yeah, I'm super funny, but, like, that's just kind of my thing. Like, I always like to keep the mood light, and I never like to play with being, like, very serious and just, like, oh, this is, like, the end of the world kind of play. I'm always just keeping everyone happy and upbeat, and I like making people laugh. I like being funny.
So how do you, like, now, I mean, now that you're senior, this crew leading, it's like, I think you can exhibit that now, but like, how does a young player, or like when you were a freshman or sophomore, how do you kind of break into that being a role and it not seen as goofy? Is it being helpful? You know, how does a young player who like can do that, can kind of keep moments light, how do they do that without feeling like, oh, you know, you're just a freshman, you're just goofing off?
Well, I feel like there's a time to be silly and then there's a time to be serious. So if you're coming in and goofing off like every day, every play, every like drill, then that's something different. If it's like excessive, if it's getting in the way, then that's a problem. But if it's just to like lighten the mood or just like a little snippet here and there, then that's fine.
Okay, so with this being your senior year, who would you project to pass the reins to? Who's going to be the team comedian? Who's going to be the one that keeps it light after you're done?
Ooh, I don't know. Nina, honestly. Really? Nina's really funny. She does really good impressions of everyone on the team, so I feel like she'll kind of step into that role. She's goofy now, so I guess.
Good. So we have a freshman that can do this. Yes. Good. And So finally, you know, I want to give all of y'all that are seniors a chance to kind of talk about your family and the support you've had through the years. I know that you have had a lot of people that mean a lot to you in the gym to support you during the time here. Just run through those people and kind of let folks that are watching this know who they are and how big of a part of sort of your volleyball and just academic life and SFA life they've all been.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to cry, but I'll probably start crying. But honestly, like my parents have been such a huge like support system. Like my mom has never missed a single game, home or away, since my freshman year. So that's been the best support system I could ever ask for. The coaching staff, you know, I'll be forever grateful for them, just for all the support on and off the court they've given us. Because they don't want you to just succeed as a player, but as a person too. I mean, the whole team, I'm going to miss every single one of them. Players that have been in and out of the program, we still miss them. And it's just, I mean, it's a sisterhood. We're together and we're going to be friends for life. And it's just, this has been the best experience that I could have hoped for at SFA. So
your family is real. Some of them are really active. Some of your fans, they're really active on social media. They get in there. they're the first ones to like retweet stuff a lot of time. I mean, they really, it seems like your family like really and friends really enjoy the whole following the club as a fan, not just supporting you, but it seems like they also really like supporting the club and all the rest of us that write and post stuff on Twitter and Instagram and all that.
Mm-hmm. My godmother is like Debbie. She retweets stuff all the time, but it's like she wants to get SFA known around the world. Like she just doesn't want it, and it's not just for me, it's for the whole team. And it's, you know, that's really cool to see that someone's just on social media and like follows closely to you, especially like just keeps up with your tweets and all that stuff. So that's just another way of support.
That's all awesome stuff. They've been a big support to all of us. Okay, McKenzie Brewer tomorrow on the road, scrimmage time, and we'll get Peyton Redmond and Haley Coleman in here for sort of a duo interview next week. And then a week from today, the club will be on the floor in Memphis when the season actually starts. Brew, thanks. It's a delight always to talk to you.
Thank you.